Okay, everybody, curb your enthusiasm. It's Fiberglass Friday, another riveting version coming up. Hang on, get your bowl of popcorn. Not quite, right? Okay, let's get back onto the fiberglass discussion. See, I got a few biggies off the table this week. We'll talk about that big one down there in a couple of minutes. I just want to go over a couple of things. First, I want to respond to Barry, subscriber on YouTube. After the last video, he suggested when they used to do glass in their shop, when people came on without a respirator, they used to tell them that it can leave you impotent and cause explosive diarrhea. So I think that's pretty good reason for someone to get out of your shop. So I'll have to keep that in mind the next time somebody comes in to visit. Okay, I just want to talk about a few little things here. A common question comes up quite a bit. Pardon me. The first time I've talked all morning here. It's just 7 o'clock. People always ask what brand of resin do I use? It's not really a brand. Here's the bucket it comes in. 16-liter pail, but it's just a general purpose polyester resin. That's all it is. There's no name brand. I think 90% of resin and fiberglass comes from China, as far as I know. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, we got it in a 55-gallon drum. This year I split it with the guy next door, and I just used my bucket to fill it up. But there is no brand name. I used to use years ago, when I first started, was the Bondo brand that you can buy at car repair places. It's horrible. I can't recommend it at all. I wouldn't use it. Just go around. You'll find somewhere in your town. You'll find some polyester resin somewhere. They come in smaller containers too. And now I just wanted to mention with fiberglassing, just to show you something. So here's a couple little pieces of glass, and what's happened is when my pile is close to my wetting table and you drip a little bit onto your piece, if you're glassing, you got to get rid of that. You got to rip that piece off before you get started. If you put that on your model, it's not going to, when you add your resin, it's not going to melt it down. It's going to stay hard and stick up and probably cause a bubble. So it's best just to rip that little piece right out like it's hard as a rock. So just so you don't cause any problems for yourself, just if you see that on a piece, some old resin on there, just rip it off before you get going. Just want to mention about respirators, like always when you're doing glass. But the other important thing is, when you're finished glassing, don't store or leave your mask in the same room as here. What's going to happen, you'll contaminate your filters inside. They'll absorb that smell and the odor and same as yours. If you have spare filters, leave them in the package they came in. Don't open them. Don't leave them sitting around in your shop. Always store your stuff in a separate location. Like this goes into my office in a drawer after I'm finished for the day in here, or the morning, whatever it may be. Another thing I want to talk about is, with fiberglass, you can always, if you look after you're finished, you think, you know what, I should have put another layer on, or it's a little thin. You can always go back and add another layer like the next day. Just something that you should be aware of is, I had trouble finding one, so I've done a pretty good job this year. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, we call these biters. These little nubbies are sticking up here. Can you see them? And then down here, there's another one. It's like a little piece of glass that's popped up. And those are the ones that when you go to grab it, that's the ones that are going to stick in your finger, and you're going to cuss and swear and get all pissed off. But what you want to do before you add your glass, you want to sand those, either with electric sander, air sander, or even a hand sander if you got. Just get rid of those lumps and bumps, those little stickers. I think my son said at their place they call them stickers. That they're raised areas that are loose. You have to get rid of those, because if go to put fresh glass on top, it's not going to adhere to that. It's going to leave a big bubble and a lump. So just give it a quick sand all over, and then you're good to go for your glass. Okay, you remember this one we talked about? It had the foam insert, this urn. I did this one a little bit different. I did last year some bigger ones this way, and I never did show it, and I was kind of mad. I thought I had pictures, and I don't. Is on something like this, this is sort of a mock-up of what I did. It's not exactly what I did yesterday, but pretty darn close, about 80%. Is I've just got it supported on some styrofoam, clipped the base on here. I did the top first standing up, then you just clamp it to keep it tight. Then I laid my glass this way. It's just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it down, then I'm going to show you here. So why I did it that way is because when you're working against gravity sometimes, it can be real pain in the butt. So if I'm going underneath here, this area here, and then if you're doing this top flange and you're doing it upside down, your glass, if you're doing 3 or 4 layers, especially 4 layer, it's getting really heavy and it's soaked with resin. And what can happen is you'll walk away and you think you've got a great, it's done, your side is finished. You'll come back and half of your glass is going to be on the ground because just the weight, it's dropped it. So with stuff like this, when you've got any upside down parts, it's a good idea to lay it on its side and do it horizontally instead of vertically. I'll tell you, you can go a heck of a lot faster and you don't have to worry. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm just telling you, it's happened to me before. I think I've done something like a pillar or something large or a large pot, and you've got a big underhanging flange and just the sheer weight of the resin soaked glass, and it drops. It'll be hanging, you're thinking, oh, it looks great, and you'll walk away to go do something, and you come back and it's all sitting in a lump down on the bottom, and that's a real, you know what. Same like this, you're gonna have these underhanging pieces on here, or even like a large, when I do that large Venus lady, she'll be laying down too. When you've got a great big tall piece that's 4 feet tall and it's got heavy glass on it, there's a chance it can roll off, and you just want to avoid that. So if you've ever looked at any of Tusk's videos, any of his large ones, he's always doing his glass on them horizontally. He's not doing them straight up and down as well. So just a word of advice to think about. And it's easy to make a little rig. There's just a couple pieces of styrofoam, a couple pieces of leftover wood, whatever, some bricks or anything to support it on its side, and then away you go. So like I said, I did the top first, and then I did, so here's the top. There's the top with the foam insert. Why I did it? I used to always do my rim vertical right here, but JB and Tuscany convinced me to do it on this side because it's much easier to pop your top off. If you can just put a chisel or a screwdriver between the two flanges, pop it, and your top will pop right off after you've had a pour. So that's new for me, just the flat disc shape. But it worked really well. I was really happy. I banged this thing off in, I think, 4 hours I was finished. So that's a good half a day there of playing with glass and getting her done. So I'll just show you what else I got on the tables here. I got a kitty, a couple more pieces to go. Hopefully get that done today. Fridays, why I do a video on Fridays is because Friday's like a reset day for me too. I like to clean up on Fridays. It's garbage day here at the shop, so get all the garbage together and do a good sweep or a mop and whatever you have to do, that sort of maintenance sort of things. Regroup, go to the hardware store if you have to, and then I'll glass a little bit in the afternoon. So, okay, we're into foam inserts. Again, this dancing couple here. Couple foam inserts, one on either side. See there? So that just slides up. It's hard to do with one hand. To get it up under there, it'll hold. Then one in the middle here, and then on the Ganesh, working on him. He's got a few different plugs there. He's got some foam plug on one side. Here, I'll pull this off so you can see. It's a foam plug on one side. It's really hard to look through the camera and do that at the same time. There we go. And then I've got a hard fiberglass one here with spray foam insulation. This all has to get sanded down and a top put on it. Same as this one over here. I couldn't use them here and here because there's too many negative dry. I couldn't, here's the pieces here. They just wouldn't pull off right. I couldn't get them in. It just would be a problem. So that's why I went straight with this foam. So then the idea is I'm going to do like just a seam running down like here. So one piece, two piece, and this will be three right here. The back piece is already done. It's laying down there. So next couple of days we'll have that finished. Okay, and I think that's about it for this Fiberglass Friday. 10 minutes or 11 minutes. It's long enough listening to me. You want to jam some pencils in your ears. So we'll see you again next week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.